Hi, everybody. It's Anne Genge back here from Alexio Corporation. I'm a certified privacy and cybersecurity professional, but I have a huge passion for education. And I'm here today to tell you that really cybersecurity education is for everyone. We all have devices, we all work with technology every single day, we work with data. And I want to bring to you a three-part series to cover off sort of three main areas where a lot of people will sometimes get into trouble and help you understand how to avoid that yourself. So this is the first part of three, as I said. And in the first section here, we're going to talk about social media, privacy settings, and really sort of best practices for device applications. And when we look at social media, we need to remember or think about the fact that there are 3 billion people on the internet, and really not everyone is who they say they are. We really need to be careful not to friend people that we haven't met in real life. There's also the idea that people may try to friend us based on information that's publicly available about you. Sometimes a friend or a link will link to you in an attempt to defraud you, or sometimes they're trying to target one of your contacts and they're just using you to get to that person. So as much as some of these platforms are obviously really good in connecting us, they're also really quite ridden with some nefarious type individuals, bad actors. And so we really want to be sure of how we're building our friends list and contact lists. The next thing that I want to just mention is we need to understand that everything that we do on these platforms really is forever. It's really important for teens in particular to understand this, particularly with apps like Snapchat. Even if something says that the image stays there only for a short time and then disappears, we have to remember that there are things like screen capture and so on, where they can be reshared anyway. So really, nothing on the internet ever really goes away forever. So when you post, you really need to assume that everyone will be able to see what you're posting, and never presume privacy, not even an email, really. Anything that's connected, anything that happens online, can always have the ability of resurfacing later on. So we have to be super careful that anything that we put out there can't come back to haunt us later. Social media really is great for sharing and staying in touch with people. But the downside is that the information can actually also be used to trick or impersonate you. So having a social media account really increases your chance of ID theft. And identity theft can be a huge problem. And in fact, having social media accounts can increase that risk by up to about 46%. And 40% of the consumers across the world have already been targets of ID theft at least once. So this is a huge problem. And I think what is even worse is when we look at the stats for children. 1.3 million children lose their identities, or their identities are stolen or spoofed every single year across the globe. So these are things to consider. And the other thing is that we are also very busy and bombarded with content like emails, instant messages, texts all day long. And this really forces us to make really quick decisions about the content. And the problem is the bad guys know that. They know we're busy, we're working quickly, and they try to take advantage of that. And so one of the best tips that we can use really to help you understand how to be more secure with everything, social media, email, app permissions, and everything, really is to just slow down. Really read and think before you click. Definitely really investigate privacy settings, especially on the free apps. So speaking of privacy, let's talk about privacy. And privacy on social media, we just talked about limiting your actual friends to people you know, restricting what you post to friends only. Check under the privacy settings on your social media apps and change your privacy settings as appropriate. Don't log into one app or account using another. Those annoying pop-ups that ask you if you want to log into a new account using Google or Facebook mean that those applications will be sharing data about you. So you really need to think about that if that's what you want, if that's a kind of digital footprint you want to create. Creating individual accounts with unique credentials is always a much better way to go. Password managers such as LastPass can be very helpful in having you have the ability to create unique usernames and passwords. And in fact, many of those are actually free and are secure and encrypted. So let's talk about syncing. So if syncing is enabled on your accounts between apps and your device and account is compromised, you haven't just made life easier for yourself. You've also made it very easy for a potential attacker. So consider syncing manually instead of enabling it automatically. Now, does every app and device really need to know your location? You really want to allow this sparingly, like for maps and navigation only, for example. And it goes without saying, but people still don't really do this properly, and that is just enabling the lock screen on all of your devices. Wherever possible, enable encryption. And that means that even if someone gets past your lock screen, your data is still secure. This is particularly important for anyone who's using their phone for business, for healthcare, if you're a lawyer or an accountant or a financial planner, and you might have anything in that phone, even within your email within your phone, that has to do with client or patient information. So the last one here we're going to talk about is device applications. So when you are installing these apps, it's really important to pay attention to the permissions that you're granting when you install and use them. Again, we always come back to the same thing. It's really a pain to read through all sorts of fine print, but a lot of these app developers, they really do count on you not reading them. And many times you actually are giving permission for them to do things that you really don't want them to do with your data, but you didn't read it, and so you didn't realize. You also, people tend to see, oh, well, so-and-so downloaded it, so-and-so's using it, so therefore it must be okay. But there are very low percentages of people that actually read these policies. It's under 5% by most measurement. It's only under 5% of people actually read policies and understand how their data is being used. So that's very important to become better at that. It goes without saying that you only want to use apps from a reputable provider. You can look those up on the internet and see, put in the name of the app and say with the word privacy or danger or something like that, and you should be able to see commentary on that. Apps that look too good to be true usually are. And so, for example, something that has all 5-star reviews, actually, it's something that you may want to actually look into a little bit more, because it's not so likely that that's going to happen. So 5-star reviews all across the board sometimes means that it's not legit. And then the last thing is your antivirus, keeping that up to date. This is really important on all devices, and you can get antivirus for your tablets and your smartphones as well. And we'd really love to see you implementing that as well. So that's it for part 1. Thanks for joining me today. Stay safe out there, and look forward to part 2 coming very soon.